Welcome everybody to today's session. Today we'll be presenting you QBuild and CADLink, which is an integration to Rootstock. So integrating your engineering software to Rootstock directly and allowing for those BOM and item creations and how you can automate and streamline your engineering process much better. So today, what we have for learning objectives, by the end of this session, you'll be learning how you can firstly automate your BOM and item transfer to Rootstock. Secondly, how you can streamline your overall engineering design process with CADLink as well. And also how you can increase your data accuracy, not only in Rootstock, but also in your CAD, PDM, or PLM systems as well using CADLink. So let's jump into it. For today's agenda, what I have planned to talk about is, firstly, we'll be giving a quick introduction into QBuild, who we are, what we do as a company, and talk a bit about our solutions as well. After that, we'll be talking about CADLink, giving a brief introduction into CADLink, why use CADLink, what are the benefits and the use cases for it, and what it can do for you, your engineering team, and your company. After that, we'll go through a live CADLink demo as well. So I'll be showing you the software, walking through from start to finish an entire CADLink process. So we'll be saving a BOM and updating some items and creating some items in Rootstock, which you'll be seeing live. And then lastly, we'll be talking about the benefits of CADLink and also what the overall ROI is for your company and your engineering team. So quick introduction to the QBuild team here. My name is Cesar Sandul. I'm a solutions engineer here at QBuild Software. With me, I have Gael Benoit, and he is our Rootstock partner manager from QBuild's end. Both Gael and myself and the entire team here at QBuild come from a mechanical engineering background, so we really have that experience and knowledge when speaking to prospects and customers on how we can better automate and streamline their engineering processes, so we have that knowledge and experience to speak on that. So quick introduction to QBuild. So starting off, we are a software development company. We specialize in the engineering to ERP integration space. So what I have shown here is a simple map of some of our products on the right-hand side there in that image. And these products all exist between your engineering world and your Rootstock ERP. Of course, CADLink is our flagship product, but we do have a wide range of solutions that fit in that area as well. And I'll briefly go over some of these solutions here today just to give a quick introduction. But essentially, all of these solutions will help facilitate effective communication and accurate data transfer between your engineering software and your Rootstock ERP. So starting off, we have MBOM on the bottom middle left there. So MBOM is a software that can be used to transform your engineering BOM into a manufacturing BOM. So in Rootstock, you'll be creating an engineering BOM, and then once you go to actually build that or are ready to build that product, you'll need to create a manufacturing BOM for your shop floor with the operations, raw materials, what work needs to be done. And MBOM will help facilitate that transformation or translation process where you'll be able to compare the two bills of materials, the manufacturing BOM versus the engineering BOM, manipulate the engineering BOM into manufacturing BOM by adding in the operations, routings, raw materials, restructuring the BOM as you see fit. Next, we also have ECX Manager on the top left there. And ECX Manager is a software that acts as a central hub and help integrate your engineering change processes within Rootstock and also your engineering department. So this can be a standalone solution where you can use it purely just for the change process control, or you can use it in conjunction with CADLink to trigger change notices and orders. And within the software, you'll be able to assign workflows to certain individuals and departments, have them approve certain change orders, notifications, and also request before committing those changes into Rootstock, so you go through the appropriate personnel and process. Next, we have NestLink on the top right-hand side corner. And NestLink is a synchronization tool similar to CADLink, but with nesting software. So it'll help synchronize your material inventory and work order data between Rootstock, your nesting software, and also back into Rootstock. So once nesting detects a job that's ready to be processed, it'll automatically grab all that information, send it to your nesting software. Once it's completed, it'll send it back to Rootstock, so you never have to touch between the two systems to transfer that data over. And then lastly, we have ConfigLink on the bottom left, and ConfigLink integrates your configurator to a CAD system, giving you the ability to automate the modeling process and generate models, drawings, and CAD files. So you'll be able to take data such as parameters and module selections from the configurator and automate that modeling process where you can return the requested file automatically. So if you have any questions about any of these other solutions, please feel free to reach out to any one of the people at Rootstock or Guile or myself, and we'd definitely be able to help out more and provide more information on it. So some more background about QBuild. We actually started back in 2002 as a simple linking program for AutoCAD. Actually, our owner and founder, he created CADLink back at his first job out of university. He was in a manufacturing job, and he was actually responsible for entering in some of that data into the ERP. And he thought, why am I doing this manually? I can automate this whole process. And that's how CADLink was born. Of course, ever since then, CADLink has come a long way. We've updated it, added a lot more features, and really matured the product a lot. And as you can see today, we've also built many relationships over the years with partners on the CAD, PDM, and PLM side. So we have many integrations that cover the full range of the customer base. And specifically in terms of PLMs, we work with Arena, Teamcenter, any of the major PLMs, and others that you do not see here as well. So to talk about the partnership with Rootstock, I'll be handing this portion over to Vijay.
Thanks, Asara. So just wanted to let you guys know that we've been working with CADLink and QBuild for over the past year, the goal being to leverage the CADLink solution and create a seamless integration from any CAD system and bringing in the BOM structure into Rootstock for use downstream. So again, this is a supported CAD integration. The team at QBuild is also working closely with our architecture team to make sure that any changes that are happening in the product are available to them, and this would have no impact on updates and upgrades to make sure that this process is kind of seamless. At the same time, it is not something that is built in isolation, in the sense that we are working with a lot of our customers and also prospects for that matter to find out the requirements, work with some of these customers, and take guidance on simplifying the process and making sure that the most important pieces are available and continuously being enhanced, which means that there is also a roadmap. And I think in today's session, Sarah and the team will also be talking about bringing in routings and showing those on your manufacturing BOM. So it's not a point solution to say that, okay, this is a connector and we're done, but it is continuously being developed with a partnership. And you will be able to see this listing on appstore.rootstock.com. And this is the place where we are creating a store of certified vendors and integrators, where instead of looking at the app exchange and seeing thousands of partners, you will be able to identify those partners who have been working with us and where we share a common install base. So look out for more information. You can go to appstore.rootstock.com. You have a listing there for QBuild and CADLink, and you have the option to even initiate contact through the support site. That was it, Sarah. Thanks.
Thank you, Vijay. All right, moving on here. So I want to spend some time talking about some of the common challenges that a lot of our prospects, when they come to us, the challenges they face before using a software like CADLink. So there are four main kind of sections that I'll be talking about here. And starting off, we have product development. Oftentimes, prospects that come to us that are looking for a solution like CADLink, we find that they're struggling a lot with product development. And what I mean by this is oftentimes when they're doing manual data entry or a different process when entering in their bombs into Rootstock, they often suffer from longer lead times to market because it takes longer to go from engineering to production. So they struggle to get that data into Rootstock quickly and accurately. And that means that they're spending longer time to go to market, means less time actually spent on creating products to sell and more time spent on data entry. So depending on how well that goes, your product development will suffer as the engineering or design process to manufacturing time will also suffer as well. Next, we see issues with product quality quite often. Again, relating back to that, getting accurate data into Rootstock, by using something like CADLink, we can ensure that we're getting that accurate data. And by doing that, we can ensure that we eliminate things like wrong builds, which can result in spending more time rebuilding, remanufacturing, or scrapping designs or products entirely. So if you can ensure that there's good product quality, then that means there's less cost sunk into product development and wrong builds and production errors overall for these companies. Another one is engineering resources. This is a pretty big one. Most of the time, we find that a lot of our prospects, they'll have their engineers actually spend the time and enter in that data into Rootstock because the engineers are the ones that are the most knowledgeable about the engineering bomb and the actual design. So the companies want, or their managers want them to actually enter in that data. And this is a very inefficient use of their time. It's non-value added activities because they're doing admin work and data entry clerk work. And this means ultimately that they have reduced project capacity and design capacity. So they're spending less time on actual engineering work and spending more time on data entry. And spending less time on engineering work essentially means that you'll be able to get less products out the door, less satisfaction with your customers' needs and requests for changes and modifications, and overall lower productivity within your engineering department and the company. And then lastly, another big one is also data management, because most of the time the prospects will be doing manual data entry or a simple import-export tool. With these two methods, they'll have a lot of issues with double and triple data entry, and also downstream confusion in the shop floor or purchasing because of that inaccurate data that goes into Rootstock. So for example, the engineering had entered in duplicate parts and now shop floor is creating that product with two parts and spending more money, wasting more resources and time overall. So you can start to see the overall picture here for life without CADLink, and there's a lot of areas for improvement here and a lot of areas where there's a lot of errors and a lot of areas where we can increase the efficiency and productivity overall. And I also want to spend some time talking about what alternatives that our prospects come to us with. So what are they currently using when they come to us if they're not using something like CADLink? And oftentimes it's one of the two that you see on screen here. The first being brute force, which is essentially just manually entering that data, having someone look at the engineering bomb from CAD, PDM, or PLM, and then entering that into Rootstock manually. And then the next one is blind push, so using a simple import tool into Rootstock using a CSV. And these both have their own sets of issues, which we'll go through here shortly. So starting off with brute force, one of the biggest issues with it is very error prone. Again, you're having someone spend that time putting that data into Rootstock, and they're human, they will make mistakes. Sometimes if they're tired or didn't have a good day, it's very likely that they're going to enter in something in wrong. They might mistype something and not realize it. So there's a lot of inaccuracies that can come up by using something like manual data entry and just brute forcing that data into Rootstock. Next, it's also time consuming. Oftentimes, especially if you have very, very large bills of materials or lots of items, or even just do custom manufacturing job where you have lots of products and no two bombs are the same, it takes a lot of time to get that data into Rootstock. So every single bomb and item, your engineer or whoever's responsible for that data entry will have to enter that in. And there's a lot of information and fields that go into an ERP like Rootstock. And if any of those information is set up incorrectly, there's a lot of areas that tie into that information in Rootstock, and it will affect other areas in the company as well. And lastly is just plain boring. No one wants to be spending their time, majority of their day entering data, looking at two sets of screens or applications and copying that data over when it could be simply automated by using a program such as CADLink. And having boring tasks, it will kill productivity because just having people enter in things they don't want to do or don't like doing, they will feel bored. It will kill their productivity and overall make the company less resource effective and less productive. And then moving on to blind push. So let's talk about some of the issues that we see with that. Blind push is slightly better than manual data entry or brute forcing that data into Rootstock, but it does come with its own sets of issues that we often come across with a lot of our prospects that they mention to us. So as I was saying, it is slightly faster than brute force. Again, it does have its own set of issues. One of the major issues that we see with blind push or using an import tool with the CSV export is it requires a lot of data massaging. Again, because it is a blind push, you're not able to verify that data before committing it to Rootstock. You're just simply exporting it to a CSV and importing it in. And once you import it into Rootstock, that's when you can actually go in there and verify that the data is all accurate and what you're expecting. And when you're in Rootstock, there's a lot of areas of forms that you have to verify, so it will take a lot of time. And making those changes may not be as simple as changing a field in Rootstock. You may have to go back into engineering or speak with their department to modify that data in a proper process and accurately. Next, there's no bidirectional connection. So you're able to update Rootstock, but you're not able to update your CAD system. So for example, if someone changes something in Rootstock for a part, but your CAD system or your engineering department still has the part in the previous revision, there's a data mismatch there and inaccuracy, which can lead to more downstream confusion when going to use that part in a different build or recreating that assembly or up-revving it as well. So that inaccurate data will be carried on and carried forward into Rootstock and also into other builds and products as well. So by having a bidirectional connection, we can ensure that the data is accurate in both system and in sync. And then lastly, it's often reliant on a single person. Oftentimes it's just engineering, exporting that and importing into Rootstock. And a lot of the time we see that maybe the engineers do not interact with Rootstock that often, so they don't actually verify that data. And if they're not there or they're too busy, it may take some time as well. So just having that reliancy on a single person is oftentimes causes more problems than it does good. So with all this being said, although blind push is slightly more feasible than brute force, you can see there's a lot of issues and problems that come with it. And you can start to see the effects of these issues on your business when using either brute force, manual data entry, or a blind push. So let's talk about some of the pain points that a lot of our prospects come to us with. So starting off with the brute force or manual entry, again, we see a lot of human error with this. Oftentimes the prospects will really stress that they have to enter in data 2 or 3 times because it's been misentered or it's inaccurate in Rootstock. And there's a lot of errors that come up with that. And oftentimes it's also relying on a single person as well. So it's simply not time and resource effective. You don't want to be using company resources for something simple as entering data, which can be easily automated again by using a software and using CADLink. And I've seen companies hire full-time employees like data entry clerks whose sole job is to enter in data, which is an extremely inefficient use of resources. And the next export import tool or the blind push. Firstly, there's no validation because again, it's a blind push. So you're hoping that the data from the export is accurate and does not need to be manipulated. And oftentimes our prospects let us know that this is not really the case. They have to go back into Rootstock, massage it, or they have to speak with the engineering department. And there's a lot more time that they did not anticipate that goes into actually making sure the data is accurate and that push or the import was what they were expecting. So oftentimes we'll see that they have to go back into Rootstock to change that data because there's data missing or the data was simply not accurate. It's also not bidirectional, as I mentioned. So a lot of our prospects, as I mentioned earlier, they'll come to us with the issue of their rootstock data is accurate, but their CAD data is not accurate now. It's very hard for them to keep track of it. And because of the data not being in sync, it causes more issues and problems, wrong builds, scrap parts down the line when they go to reuse that part or reuse a BOM. So with CADLink, we'll be able to ensure that the data is in sync in both locations and also just increase overall data accuracy. So what does this mean overall, these few pain points for your company? It means number one, there's slow engineering because your engineers are spending more time on admin work and data massaging than actual design work and project work. So it slows down their process. They have less time spent on actual engineering products and design work and actually helping the customers that you provide to. Next, it also means that there's wrong build situations, again, caused by inaccurate data and downstream confusion from the shop floor and purchasing because the BOMs were not accurate in Rootstock or your CAD system. Also means wrong inventory, again, caused by inaccurate data, shop floor errors, scrap parts, and overall just frustration from your shop floor, purchasing, engineers, and in turn, the company overall as well. So what is the solution to all this? It's CADLink. And let's talk a bit about what is CADLink and what it actually does. So CADLink is a software that will allow you to automatically synchronize your BOMs and items between your CAD system and Rootstock ERP. So firstly, it will be a plugin to your CAD system, PDM system, or PLM system, and it'll directly read the data from the CAD model that you have open. So once you're finished engineering it, you can launch CADLink directly from your CAD PDM or PLM system, and CADLink will automatically grab all that data as you set it up in your CAD model. Next, it will establish a connection with your Rootstock environment, pull in any relevant data for that specific assembly, BOM, and also the items that you're referring to in your CAD model, and grab all that data. And then it'll create a link between the two systems and do a live comparison between the two sets of data and display it in an interface so the user can verify it, make any other modifications, add routings, operations, etc., before committing those changes into Rootstock and also back into your CAD, PDM, or PLM system. So not only will CADLink automatically create items and BOMs for you, but it'll also give the user that opportunity to make any changes and do that bidirectionality. You can ensure that you have accurate data in both systems. So at this point, I want to jump into my demo environment and quickly show you guys what the process would look like and what CADLink would look like overall. So here I am in my Rootstock environment, and I have a bill of material pulled up here. So what I'll be showing is a PDM integration to Rootstock. So we'll be updating some items and updating this BOM in Rootstock using a model or assembly that we have available in PDM. So you can see here, firstly, that we have the assembly already created. So there's already assembly here with an indented bill of material, and we have some parts and sub-assemblies all within Rootstock here. But let's say I'm a design engineer and I've updated this revision for a customer and made some changes. And now I need to update those changes in Rootstock. So let's go into my PDM system here. Before I jump into that, I just want everyone to quickly take a note of all the items that we have here. So you'll see that we'll be creating new items here and updating this BOM. So I'm in my PDM system, and let's say I've just finished making the design changes I needed to make, and I've updated the BOM in CAD, and I'm now ready to push those changes into my Rootstock ERP. So I'll be using CADLink to do this. The first thing I want to point out, and I mentioned before, is CADLink is an add-in to your PDM system or your CAD, PDM, or PLM system. So you'll never have to actually leave the CAD system that you are using, and CADLink will automatically read all the data that's coming from your CAD system based on the CAD model. So let's go ahead and launch it. And here I can simply launch it by clicking here. So it's going to ask me for which BOM I like to use with PDM. And CADLink, what it's doing now, it's reading the data from my PDM system, checking if that assembly already exists in Rootstock. And as we saw in Rootstock that it already does exist. And it'll grab that data if it already exists in Rootstock, do that live comparison and display the results of that live comparison in an interface that we see here. So what we're seeing here is the CADLink interface, and there's two main sections that I'll be talking about today. First one is the BOM grid that we see here. And the second is the side panel, which has some additional features and functionalities that the users can use to modify the BOM and add in more information. So the first thing I'd like to point out is you can see that CADLink has maintained that multi-level BOM structure from PDM. So it's reading all that data directly from PDM, and it's maintained those parent-child relationships as we had set it up in our CAD model. The next thing you'll probably notice is these colored highlights here. And these colored highlights are actually the result of the live comparison that CADLink has made between your rootstock and CAD, PDM, or PLM system. And these colored highlights give your engineer or your CADLink user a quick understanding at a short glance what changes are being made or what the differences are between the two sets of data. So just from a quick glance, I can see what's happening. I can know if I'm ready to just push it straight away or if I need to make any changes or review some of this data before pushing it into Rootstock. So let's talk a bit about some of the colored highlights that we're seeing here and what exactly they mean. So starting from the top, we have the white colored highlighted parts or rows, and any parts, rows, or fields that are highlighted in white is CADLink telling you that, hey, I've looked for this part number in Rootstock, and I found it in your PDM. And when I search for it in Rootstock, I already found that a record already exists for it in Rootstock. So when I go to hit save here, CADLink will not make any changes to the white colored highlighted parts or cells or fields because the data is already in sync between our PDM, our CAD system, and Rootstock. Moving further down, we have these green highlighted rows or parts. So you can see we have quite a few of them here. And these green highlighted parts is CADLink telling you that these are new parts that do not exist in your Rootstock item master yet. So it's found this part number in our PDM CAD model, but when it's searched for it in Rootstock, it's found that no item record exists yet in the item master, and it does not exist under this BOM or in our Rootstock environment entirely. So when I go to hit save, CADLink will automatically create all of these new green parts for me in Rootstock. So firstly, create the item master record for this part or item. And then it'll also add the part or item into the assembly in Rootstock or the BOM in Rootstock for us as well automatically. So you can start to see how much time we're saving by using CADLink, because again, we're automatically creating all of these new green parts, which previously may have taken 30 minutes to a few hours to actually enter in all this data accurately and all the necessary fields that Rootstock requires or your team requires. And again, all this data that we're seeing here, such as description and other data quantity, it's all coming directly from our CAD model. And then moving further down, we have a yellow colored highlight here. And yellow colored highlights are actually CADLink telling you that there's a discrepancy between your rootstock data and your CAD data for that specific field. So here we can see we have a description discrepancy, and you can have discrepancies, whether that's in revision, description, quantity, any of the other fields as well. So I have a discrepancy here. I can actually right click on it to see what the discrepancy is. So here we can see in my CAD model, I have the description numbering wheel housing assembly final versus what I have in rootstock currently is numbering wheel housing ASM. So we can see there's a discrepancy there. CADLink has picked up on it. And actually, as the user, I can pick and choose which one I would like to use. So right now we're using the rootstock description, but let's say PDM is the description that I would like to use in this case. I can simply click on it and CADLink will reflect that change in the BOM grid. And I can also make any edits to this description as I see fit directly in CADLink. So I can completely type in a brand new description, or I can modify the existing one right here, like so. And when I go to hit save, CADLink will update this information in not only rootstock, but also in our CAD model or CAD system as well, to ensure that the two sets of data are in sync with each other and we avoid the future downstream confusion that may come about from that data that's not synchronized between the two systems. Moving further down, we have these red highlighted fields here, and these are actually fields where CADLink is telling you that it's validate the data. So CADLink will always validate the data against your Rootstock environment's rules and restrictions for data, and it finds that any of the data here does not follow those rules and restrictions. CADLink will highlight that field in a red color. So for example, our Rootstock environment requires a description. And here we have a blank description. So CADLink is highlighting in red, telling me that, hey, if I would like to save this part, I need to fill in this description first. And there's some more functionality that ties into this red highlighted field here in the side panel, which I'll go over shortly once we get to that point. Moving further down, we have some blue highlighted cells and also a gray highlighted cell. So I'll talk about the gray highlighted cell first here. And gray highlighted cells or parts are parts that CADLink found in your rootstock bill of material, but did not find in your CAD bill of material or CAD model. And this may be due to situations such as a revision change. So in rootstock, I have maybe an older revision and I've uprevved this new revision in CAD, and this new revision obsoletes this part or item and is no longer needed in the new revision. So when I go to hit save, CADLink will actually remove these gray highlighted parts from my rootstock bill of material to ensure that what I have in rootstock is representative of what I have modeled in CAD. Now, let's say I wanted to keep this part. I did not actually want to remove it from rootstock. We can convert this to what CADLink calls a manual part. And by changing it to a manual part, you can see the colored highlighting has now changed from gray to blue, indicating that now it's considered a manual part. And when we go to hit save, the part will no longer be removed from our rootstock bill of material. One quick thing I would like to note is CADLink will never delete any items from your rootstock item master. It will only remove the item from that specific bill of material or assembly. You can also use the manual parts feature to add in parts directly into rootstock bill of material on the fly without having to model it in your CAD system. So this is very useful. A lot of our customers will use it for parts such as consumable items, paint, glue, fasteners, packaging, nuts, bolts, items that you wouldn't necessarily need to model in your CAD assembly, but you do need in the rootstock bill of material for purchasing or manufacturing reasons. So to add in a manual part, I can simply right click on area I'd like to add it in the bill of material. I can search for the item based on the description or the item number and simply add it in this way. So let's say I need some packaging for this. I can find that part here, hit accept, and now CADLink has added in a brand new row for this specific part that I've added in directly through CADLink. Scrolling to the right here, we have some more fields and information that the user has the ability to verify and also massage if needed. And these are rootstock specific fields. So you have unit of measure, commodity code, engineering type, serial tracking, log tracking, etc. And as the user, you have the ability to change these values or data directly through the CADLink interface. So these dropdowns that I'm showing here, they're all coming directly from my rootstock environment. So based on what I have set up in rootstock for these specific fields is what CADLink will show. This is not something that I've pre-set up in CADLink. It's all coming directly from my rootstock environment. So if I want to add anything to this list, I can simply go into rootstock, add it in there, and CADLink will automatically display that here. So I can actually modify these in CADLink here. And I also have the ability to, if the part already exists, control which fields I can change if the part already exists. So I may not want to modify some of this information since it may be being used in other areas in rootstock or different assemblies or products. So CADLink has not only the ability to bring in CAD data, it also gives the user the ability to set up that rootstock information and data as well. So let's talk about the side panel here. So I'm going to expand it out to give a better view for everyone. And with the side panel, you have a few more features and options available to you. And one of the features is routings and operations. So Vijay was mentioning this earlier, but CADLink does have the ability to handle operations and routings for rootstock as well. So if your shop floor or your engineers would like to add in that information. They don't have to go into Rootstock to do it. They can do it all directly within the CADLink interface. So let's say I want to assign some operations for this new assembly that I'm creating with its parts here. I can simply select the top level, the parent of the subassembly, and then add in operations, and I can add in as many sequences as I like. And here, CADLink will automatically put in the sequence number. You can also modify it if you like to. And then from here, I can specify the work center that I would like to use and all the other information as well. So I can fill in all this information. And again, all these dropdowns are coming from my Rootstock environment. Changes to labor only. And I can fill in all of these fields like so. And when I go to hit save, CADLink will create that routing master for me for the specific BOM in Rootstock as well, based on the operations that I have here. So it's as simple as that, just to put in operations. It's very straightforward and very easy to use in this interface here.
Does this interface with the revision controls in Rootstock, does it make a new revision or just modify the current revision?
So it does interface with revision control in Rootstock, and it will create a new revision if the revision has been uprevved. If it's the same revision, it will update the existing revision. If it's a new revision that you're pushing from CAD, CADLink will detect that and create that new revision for you in Rootstock.
If we have custom fields in Rootstock, can we have them show in CADLink as well, or does it only pull out of the box fields?
So what I'm showing here is the out of the box fields, but we do have the ability to add in any other fields that you like to show or display or modify using CADLink.
How does CADLink work with eco control in Rootstock?
Currently, we have on the roadmap some plans to develop an ECO integration for Rootstock. So that will be coming in the near future. And if you'd like more information for that, please reach out to Gael, myself, or Vijay, and we'll definitely be able to show you something or talk about how that would work as well.
Will it handle optional operations?
So we can do that. If you would like to handle optional operations, we can add that in for you. We can also handle subcontract operations as well, or any other types of operations that you can set up in Rootstock.
For revision interfacing, how do you set the stop and start dates of that new revision being pushed into Rootstock?
So we can display that field in the interface here, the effective date. And once we display it, the user can actually set up that effective date directly through CADLink.
Is there any way to link to the bill of material overrides with the work centers and process?
We can. Currently, we interface with the engineering item master, the item master revisions, and also the engineering bills of materials. So in the bills of materials, we'll be able to interface with the BOM overrides as well if you would like. So I'm just going to remove these operations for now, just because there's more information I'll need to set up here, but I don't have that information on hand currently. So let's talk about some of the other tabs that we have on the side panel here. So this next tab, the messages tab, is a very important tab, and it actually ties in with the red highlighted fields here, the validation fields. So if you have any red highlighted fields, that indicates that you have a message here, which is CADLink telling you that there is some validation issue with the data that you're trying to push into Rootstock with the rules and restrictions that you have set up. So for example, as I was mentioning earlier, my Rootstock environment requires a description, and CADLink is telling me here that my description is empty and I need to resolve that issue. So if we have any messages here or any red highlighted fields, CADLink will actually gray out the save button, so it's disabled. And even if I try and click it, CADLink will not save, simply because even if we did want to save, Rootstock itself would not accept the format that the data is in. So we need to resolve this error to re-enable the save button. So I can type in a description here. Let's just say I'm going to call it test. And you can see as soon as I typed in that description, the message is now resolved, gone from my messages tab, and the colored highlighting has changed from red to green now. And my save button is now re-enabled, and I can push these changes into Rootstock. I'm going to talk about this here momentarily, but let's say, for example, I didn't have a description. I didn't know what the accurate information was for the description, and I need to speak with purchasing or my shop floor to get that information before entering an accurate description here. And let's say I didn't know this description, but I still want to save the rest of my work and push these other items because they may be longer lead time items and I need to get them into Rootstock so purchasing can get them in time for the build. I can actually use the save checkbox column here to pick and choose which parts I want to include in the save to Rootstock. So by deselecting that part, if I had an error message or a red field, I can actually ignore that part in the save and the message will be gone from my tab and the save button will be re-enabled. This is because we're skipping that part in the save. It's no longer included. So there's no data validation issues with the rest of the parts that we are including. Now, this is just a temporary workaround because when we go to relaunch CADLink, that description may still be empty. If you would like to include that part in the save, you'll need to resolve that message first, but it is a temporary workaround there if you would like to save partial bombs or save your work that you've done so far. And then next we have the bomb changes tab. This is a summary report of all the changes that CADLink will be making in Rootstock once we hit the save button and commit those changes. So here we can see, for example, CADLink is creating a new item and also insert into the bill of material for these green highlighted parts because they're new parts. For some of the existing parts, it's going to insert it into the bill of material. And we can see some other information such as the CAD quantity and also the rootstock quantity that we currently have. So you can see that summary or discrepancy between the two quantities. And I can actually double click to highlight the part that CADLink was referring to in the bomb grid. I can also do the same with the messages. So if I had multiple messages, I can double click on those and CADLink will also highlight that in the bomb grid for me to see which part is causing that issue or causing that error. And with the bomb changes tab, I can actually export this to an Excel file. I can also export the overall bomb grid to an Excel file as well. So some of our customers would like to use this to send over reports or summaries of changes that will be happening in Rootstock to other individuals or departments that may not have access to CADLink or PDM, but still need to know what changes are being made in Rootstock. And then lastly, we have the CAD properties tab here. This is a read-only tab where CADLink will display your CAD properties. So since I'm using PDM, it'll be displaying my PDM data card. If you're using something like SOLIDWORKS, it'll display your custom and configuration properties or the properties that your CAD system has set up. Again, it's read-only, so you won't be able to modify anything in this screen, but it is there so you don't have to keep switching back and forth between applications, and it streamlines that process if you want to cross-reference data and ensure that everything is accurate. So that brings me to the end of the demonstration here. I hope that gave everyone a quick high-level overview into what the workflow and the process would look like by using something like CADLink in your engineering design process at your company, and how it can also help you save time and better increase your data accuracy, not only in Rootstock, but also in your CAD system. So now let's just quickly summarize some of the features that we saw during the demonstration. So we saw that CADLink does have that direct link to Rootstock. And it also has the ability to push revision information to CAD and to your Rootstock database as well. And I'll show that here momentarily again. And it also has the ability to update your items and bills of materials directly from your CAD system. So one thing I forgot to show in the demonstration is the actual save into Rootstock. Let's actually save this data into Rootstock. So you can see that these are the parts that we have currently, and I'm going to save this. And now CADLink will firstly update all the part information in Rootstock for the item master. And then once it's finished saving all the part information, it will also update the BOM information as well in the engineering item master and the bill of materials as well. So you can see CADLink is updating some parts because they already exist in Rootstock. And then some of the parts it's actually creating new where it's saying saving part. And it's going to do this for each and every part that we have in our BOM. And we can see it's now creating the subassembly bombs as well in Rootstock, and then it's going to update the master bomb for this overall assembly as well. And it's finished making its changes. We can go back into Rootstock here. Let's just refresh this page. And now if you go into the indented bill of materials, we can see we have a lot more parts here, and let's just expand this out. We can see that CADLink has now updated all the information for these parts. So we have quite a few more subassemblies here, a lot more parts, and it has all the information that we set up in Rootstock. If you added any routings, you can see the routing master as well. And you can also see the updated information for all of your items as well, the individual items in the item master. So you can see how quick and easy it is to actually make that change and commit those changes into Rootstock. So let me jump back into the presentation here. And let's continue on with this. So to summarize the benefits of CADLink, firstly, it's going to reduce your costs by reducing the amount of non-value engineering activities, by giving your engineers a lot more free time automating that data entry clerk work and admin work that they would previously have to do, and allow them to spend more time on actual design and project work. We're also reducing costs by eliminating double and triple data entries, since we're now automating a previously manual process as well. And secondly, another major benefit for CADLink is we're improving the accuracy in your data, BOMs, items, and not only Rootstock, but also in your PDM, CAD, or PLM system. So this in effect will reduce the amount of material and part scrap, improve purchasing accuracy as they now have more accurate data to work with, eliminate wrong build situations, and also on-time shipments for your customers, and overall improving your company's productivity. So with all these benefits, what does that mean for your business and company? So at a high level business impact perspective, engineering all the way down to production, that process is affected as well. So by providing direct value to the user, if they can, spend less time doing data entry, that frees up their time to do more engineering work or manufacturing related tasks, meaning cleaner data and shorter process times between your CAD information going into your Rootstock ERP, and also means faster design to production process. And if we have a faster design to production process, it means we can produce more products at a higher efficiency rate, which increases our department value. And overall to the organization, if you can get more products out the door faster, you ultimately have more business, more happy customers, and you can increase your company's productivity and make more money as well. So feel free to visit our website and check us out on Google to see some of our reviews that we have from existing customers, and also some of the success stories that we have as well from existing customers. We have some video testimonials available on our website and our YouTube channel, and you can see some of the words that our customers have put in as well, and their experience with CADLink and QBuild overall.
Does CADLink allow ignoring errors such as quantity mismatch, or are these corrections enforced by rules before saving the updates to Rootstock?
So if there's an actual validation issue, like the description example that we saw in today's demo, the one way you'll be able to ignore it is using that save checkbox feature that I showed. You can ignore that part by deselecting it in the save, and that way you'll still be able to save the work for the other parts and the rest of the bill of material. If there is a quantity mismatch, CADLink will be able to update that in Rootstock. So if there is a quantity mismatch, you can review it, make sure that it's accurate, and then go back into your PDM system or CAD system, update it there, and relaunch CADLink. Because the quantity is always driven by the CAD model when using CADLink.